Okay, welcome to another edition of the human condition from the sitting position. Uh, if you cannot hear me, somebody shoot me a message in the comment section. Otherwise, we'll get started. So, a little bit lopsided here. Okay, we'll get right into it, gang. So, you're in your sitting position. Thank you, Steve. He says we're good to go. So, you're in your sitting position. I am sitting, I'll show you. A friend of mine recently went to study Zen in Japan and she bequeathed me her cushion. So, this is the first time I've actually had a Zen meditation cushion for my private practice since I was a monk. So, the point being, you don't necessarily need equipment. And I fold this little cushion in half. It's just a regular pillow. So, I have a folded pillow and my Zafu meditation cushion. So this gives my hips some elevation because our hips can be tight and our hamstrings can be tight, our knees can be tight, and our ankles can be tight. So whatever kind of body we bring to the cushion, we have to work with it. So uh, you want to have your butt elevated to the point where your knees are resting on the ground. So you have this strong mountain shaped triangular position with your head on top, your two knees firmly planted on the ground if you're sitting cross legged. Um, the ideal position for cross legged sitting is full lotus, which is your one foot up on one thigh, the other foot up on the other thigh. Then there's half lotus, which is one foot up on the opposite thigh and the other foot just sort of crossed, right? Or you can just do Burmese, which is your legs crossed, which is usually what I do in my own home practice. Today, because I'm sitting with you, I'll get a little bit more serious and I'll go full lotus. Um, some of you are just going to be sitting on a chair, like my girlfriend now. She's having some back issues, she's having some hip issues. When we sit together, she just sits on a chair. So if you're sitting on a chair, sit on the edge of the chair. Try not to lean back. Just sit on the edge of the chair with your feet firmly planted on the ground. And some of you might be kneeling, which is the Seiza position, which is you've got a cushion of some kind under your butt. So you're kneeling, but your cushion is like in between your legs and you're sitting down on top of it. Thank you, Typhon. Try not to message when we're sitting. We can message after, but thank you. This is our practice time. Even though I'm babbling, I'm always like to reorient everybody and myself in the physical basics of Zazen meditation because you probably have a home practice of some kind, and it's helpful to get re-instructed on what the body should be doing, because when you got a home practice and you've got no teacher there, you've got no monk to fix your sitting position, your body is your teacher, your body is your vehicle, your body is what you're practicing with, your body is your practice. So I start with the body. So you've got your legs crossed, or you're sitting on the edge of the chair, or you're kneeling in the Seiza position. Your spine is straight but not rigid, so it's firm, it's serious, but it's not stiff. Okay, so you can rock a little bit side to side to find your balance, your right balance. And again, your knees are solidly planted on the ground. If you're really stiff, no embarrassment, no shame. It happens all the time, especially as you get older. So you have to work with it. I don't have a cushion here, but sometimes people will take a pillow of some kind, fold it in half even so that it's nice and big, and they'll put it under one knee, or they'll put two pillows, one under each knee, so that their knees are firmly resting, right? My point is, you don't want to have your knee elevated up off the ground, not touching the ground. It's bad for your sciatica nerve, and it makes for an unsteady sitting. So your knees are firmly on the ground. Your back is curved. Your hips, you can pivot them forward, and this will give your back a natural curve, right? Important to take this posture. Otherwise, uh, the sit doesn't happen. And in an ideal world, our nose and our diaphragm, or like our belly button, the space right underneath our belly button, right? Go about an inch below your belly button, depending on how big your belly is. They should be parallel, nose and your belly button, right? You're sitting up straight. And Zen Master Dogen Hakuin says if your spinal cord was a hollow bamboo stick, you could drop a pebble and it would fall all the way down the hollow bamboo stick without touching the sides. That's how straight your spine is. Although that sounds a little bit rigid, but I like that as a visual. Okay, take a few deep breaths and relax into your body. You're holding tension maybe in your shoulders. You can drop your shoulders. Holding tension in your face, in your jaw, in your neck. You're probably holding some tension in your stomach, your diaphragm, and your chest. Let that all drop. Relax into your sit. Lately, I've just been putting my hands on my thighs when I sit. Just rest your hands on your thighs. It's an open posture. Open, shoulders down, chin up. We keep our eyes open, but with a soft gaze in Zazen meditation. So that means they're about 3 or 4 feet in front of you with a soft gaze. So you're using your peripheral vision a little bit more. And once you take your posture, then the practice is to do breathing. It's just sitting and breathing, and that is really all it is. And you're bringing your attention to posture and breath. You're not thinking about it, just bringing attention to it. I guess attention is the word of the day. I've been realizing more and more and more that that's all this practice is. In the sutras, some of my favorite Buddhist sutras, the historical Buddha figure talks about sati, which is present moment awareness in Sanskrit. And that's what the practice is. What does that mean? Bringing your attention into the present moment, not being caught in your head, basically, or caught in your amygdala, right? Because that's what's going on way more often than we're aware of if we don't sit, right? We're usually running on a program, and that program is thinking about the past, thinking about the future, worrying, dreaming, hoping, and not being in the present moment. How do you get in the present moment? Pay attention. Okay, but pay attention to what? This is why I love the Rinzai tradition. They tell us what to do. They give us a proactive activity. When you're sitting, it's an activity, right? It's just the simplest activity you can do. And you do it with as much sincerity as possible. So a lot of times they talk about how the Rinzai school is a samurai school. It's a school of effort. But my mentor told me something interesting once. He said, don't think about it as effort. He said, think about it as sincerity. Because effort makes this sound like there's a goal, and it makes it sound like you're a tough guy, and that can just get distracting. You want to feel when you're sitting, and effort is gets you in your head. Maybe you're an effort person, but I like this idea of sincerity. You're giving your attention completely to posture and breath, right? So you'll find that maybe you need to keep doing little micro adjustments to your posture during the 25-minute sit. That's great. Do those little micro adjustments. Give yourself over and over to the just sitting. And your mind is going to, of course, wander. It's going to be, it's going to go nuts. Generally speaking, that's sometimes what happens. Or you might fall asleep. That happens too. But the practice is sooner or later, that Buddha nature will wake up in you and you will be in the present moment and you will remember that you're supposed to be sitting. And then the practice is to give your attention away once more, give it completely to the exhale so that there's nothing left in you. And then fill your entire body with the whole cosmos. Breathe the whole cosmos in. That's sort of the, metaphorically speaking, the spirit of the inhale and the exhale in Zazen. So there's no room for thinking, right? The breathing is complete. And then, of course, the mind wanders. Fantastic. It gives you another opportunity to wake up and give yourself and your attention all over again. So I hope that's a little bit clear. If it's not, we're going to have a little Q&A session after we do our 2 sits, and you can ask some questions. Questions are good because they get us all thinking. It's not like I have any answers. I like the questions because they always give me video topics, to be totally honest. It's not like I think I have all the answers, but it gives me topics I can make videos on. So I appreciate questions. And you can also, if you'd like, just share whatever happened with you during the sit or anything you'd like to share about the sit. So before that, we'll do 2 sits. There'll be 25 minutes, between 20 and 25 minutes. In between, we'll have like a 6-minute break. And so we'll do 20, 25 minutes, 6 minutes, 20, 25 minutes. So just 2 sits. That's all we'll do. And I recommend, of course, turning away from your computer, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start the sit with our gong here, also a gift from my friend who went to Japan. I'll start the sit with 3 gongs, and then when we end the sit, it'll be with 1 gong. And before we start, just to re-emphasize, posture, breath, and that's it. I've started to realize that I don't meditate. My job is just to keep giving my attention back to posture and breath, dissolving that thinking mind, and then meditation arises or it doesn't. Meditating is not my job. Posture and breath, sincerely giving myself to that, that's my job, not meditating. Meditating's a bit too sophisticated for me, but I can hold my body in a certain posture and I can breathe completely. So we'll start the sit now. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Hopefully, we didn't send anyone to the hospital, mental or physical. Um, we'll take a 6 minute break now. You can stretch your legs, use the bathroom. Then 6 minutes, we'll do our second sit. Okay, we'll start our second sit, which will run between 20 and 25 minutes with 3 bells, and we'll end it with 1 bell. You can change the cross of your legs now. If you're sitting cross legged, so if you had, for example, your left foot on your right ankle, now you put your left foot on your right thigh or calf, now you put your right foot on your left thigh or calf. Okay. Those of you who are logging off, thank you. For those of you who want to stick around for a few moments, I just want to share a couple things with you. Two things. Audio is mucked up. Can you hear me? Somebody just told me the audio is mucked up. You guys hear okay? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Chuck says I'm cutting in and out. If I'm probably my bad computer coupled with my bad Austrian internet. Doesn't look like there's a delay, but if it's bad, just if you didn't hear something, shoot me a message. I want to share two things. One of which is like this new practical, very, very, very practical technique or trick I've found for meditation. Before that, it was interesting because I sat full lotus this time, which is right foot up on left thigh, left foot up on right thigh. In case, I hope I'm coming through. Okay, I'm just going to keep talking. Not sure what's going on. Okay, so I hope you can hear me. So I was doing the full lotus, which I don't do very often, but I did it because I was sitting with you guys and I wanted to be focused, and it was a reminder of just how important the posture is, and that something about that full lotus really focuses the mind, and then half lotus, which is just one of your legs up on the opposite thigh, focuses the mind, which is what I'm in right now, half lotus. Now, I give these meditation instructions. This is what I wanted to say. I give these meditation instructions always, and it's do the breath, right? And then the mind wanders, and you start thinking, but then at some point you notice that you're thinking, and the practice is to just let the thoughts come. Don't grab onto them and indulge them, and don't push them aside and repress them, but just let them come, be aware, manifest the awareness, and go back into the breath, right? And I always give this in meditation instruction, but a sit is always so much more interesting than just doing that, right? So one thing I noticed, so that's my foundation when I sit, is that breathing out and breathing in and posture. That's the foundation. That's what I'm always returning to. But oftentimes I'm bringing something to always I'm bringing something to the cushion with me. I'm bringing an ache and a pain in my body, or I'm bringing an ache and a pain in my mind. And it's usually an ache and a pain in my mind. And one thing that I find is oftentimes when I'm serious about sitting and I do the practice, I get into a rhythm and stuff starts coming up, right? Stuff I didn't know I was thinking about, stuff I didn't know was bothering me. And the practice is always the same, which is to keep your foundation, right? Which is Shikan Taza, they call it in the Soto tradition, which is just sitting, which is, as I said, giving your attention to the breath. Deep exhale and deep inhale. But things are going to happen on the cushion. You're going to remember something that was painful or interesting. Or I find this is the case a lot of the time. I have a problem that I bring to the cushion with me. Sometimes I bring it consciously, sometimes I don't, but it's there. And I find that when I do this practice of focusing in on my breath and giving myself to that, just sitting, I'll get an answer to whatever my problem is. I mean, problems by definition have an answer, right? If there's a duality, if there's a question, there's an answer. If there's a problem, there's a solution, right? Um, and sometimes that will come up on the cushion, or a deeper problem will arise, a deeper insight will arise. And these are things that um, they're like the benefits or the fruits of practice, but I never talk about them because if you grab for those things, they don't happen. So you got to stay with your foundation, just just sitting, doing the posture and breath. And you can bring some of these problems to the cushion with you and just hold them lightly. Um, I spent so many years at the monastery, like trying to push everything out of my head and just do my meditation practice. And then, I learned the hard way that that doesn't work. So these days, oftentimes, I bring my problems to the cushion with me, and I hold them lightly. And sometimes some interesting answers arise. Or some deeper insights into the problem or the thing that I'm working with in my life arises. And what I mean by hold it lightly is I can't be sitting here thinking about it. Like I mean, they say that anything that happens when you do your Zazen is Zazen. Um, and I think that's true, but sometimes what happens is I have bad Zazen. And that's what I'm thinking. When the mind just starts thinking, right? Thinking about my problems or thinking about some creative project I'm working on, letting the mind wander um, pointlessly and aimlessly and restlessly, right? Just manifesting that restless mind on the cushion, that doesn't wind up being very helpful for me. So when I say hold my problems lightly, it's like sometimes they can be a little bit energizing, like, okay, I'm working on this book. Focus in on the breath, foundation, do the breath in and out, in and out. And just somewhere in there, I'm holding that creative question, not thinking about it, not working it over in my head, but just holding it lightly. Or I'm having a personal problem, hold it lightly. It can be kind of a battery that can power the sit. But again, the foundation is always that exhale and that inhale and the posture. But I wanted to bring that up because I don't talk about that end of things too often, and it is like when you learn how to meditate, then you can learn how to meditate on a problem, which is not perseverating and letting your mind go crazy, but actually meditating with it, and that's a really good way to solve problems, like with the breath and with the posture and with focus. I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe you can sit with it for a little bit, and it might make sense. Okay, we've got a question here. If you have any questions, you can type them out now. I'm going to answer Steve's question here. I'm an experienced meditator, and I've waffled a bit with the breathing. In one case, I direct my breathing in and out, and then the other is I just let my breath do what it will. What do you think about the difference? Yeah, okay. Like for me, I was taught that one helpful thing that my mentor taught me was just breathe a little bit more deeply on the exhale. So the Zazen breathing should be very natural, but complete. So we don't typically do a complete breath. I think our breaths are usually more truncated in life. So when we sit, we relax into the sit and the breath is complete. And what that might mean is it's just a quarter longer on the exhale, just a little bit. It's natural, maybe just a quarter longer. And then I was taught that the inhale comes naturally when the exhale is complete. So the inhale comes without effort. And maybe that's just a little bit longer too. Exhale a little bit longer, completely through the nostrils. Your mouth is closed. And then inhale completely through the nostrils. And it can be, I go through all these self-conscious stages. Sometimes, like, suddenly my breathing gets a little bit weird and I feel like I need to yawn. You get that weird feeling like you need to yawn, like my breath is a little bit off when I'm sitting sometimes because I'm not used to doing that complete exhale and then my complete inhale. But I find that if I just get into my sit a little bit, just keep doing it, relaxed but focused, my body adjusts and I'm able to breathe deeply, calmly, in a relaxed and a complete way. So I hope that's some help, Steve. And thanks for that question. Oh, here we go. Ryan's got a good one. Sometimes I wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. He calls it the witching hour. I do my breath practice lying on my back and it helps. Oh, yeah. I think somebody's asked me this before. Okay, so Brian wakes up. He's having his dark night of the soul. It's 3 a.m. It's the witching hour. He does breath practice. Should he sit up on his pillow and sit down and do actual zazen in his bed, or should he just lay down and do his breath practice? I do this exact same thing that you do, and I do both. So I used to do both. I don't have this problem so much anymore. Like I don't have these, knock on wood, dark nights of the soul. But when I did, breathing practice helped every time because it got me out of my head. So most often I would just lay and I would do lying down zazen, which is the same thing as sitting zazen, only you're lying down. So I'm flat on my back, with my hands resting on the bed, inhaling and exhaling completely. So it's just like sitting zazen, except it's supine zazen. If I was really spun out, I would get my ass up, sit on my pillow, and do zazen. And here's the thing. Listen, insomnia is a great spiritual gift if you've got it, because we would get by at the Mount Baldy Zen Center during a training season, we would get by on 3 to 4 to 5 hours, maximum 5 of sleep, right? This would be for weeks and weeks. We would only have a few hours of sleep every night. I was always totally energized. I was never foggy. It was because of Zazen. So Zazen is a good substitute for sleep. So if you can't sleep, do lying down Zazen. If you still spun out, sit down and do full Zazen. Do it all night if you have to. Something will shift, and do the practice completely. Don't get lost in the witching hour mind. And it can be some really good Zazen, and your body will rest and your mind will rest if you're doing this Zazen. And it's healthy for the body and for the mind, and it gives you a certain kind of rest. Not as good as sleep, but like I said, we used to get by on like 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep maximum at the monastery. We could do it because we had good Zazen practice. Hope that's helpful. Okay, Typhon says, I would be grateful if you would share your thoughts on Sanbo Kyodan tradition. To be honest, I don't know. It's in the back of my head. I know of the tradition. I don't know that much about it. So shoot me. I'm gonna have to research it. Shoot me an email. My email is in the Zen confidential. I don't know, the description, the info, and we can talk about it by email. I don't know that much about the Sambo Kyodan tradition. Okay, Ryan says he just wants to go back to sleep, so I generally don't sit up. I know that's the problem. Like you have to do the practice of Zazen. If I try and do it like I just want to sleep, then my mind starts working again. The reason I can't sleep starts bothering me. So it's like I just have to commit to doing the Zazen. Lying down is okay. If you want to stay lying down, stay lying down, but just commit to the practice. So make it physical. Make your hands flat, your body flat, and you're going in your breath and out your breath. In your breath and out your breath. And when your mind starts doing that crazy dark night of the soul at 3 a.m. stuff, back into the body. Inhale and exhale, right? And if you and like I said, if your mind keeps working in your dark side of the night of the soul space, then you can get up, sit down, and actually do a real sit, Okay, so Steve says, I have always kept my eyes closed, but I know Zazen encourages eyes soft focus. Do you think it matters? Um, you know, I think it does, but it may not. I mean, the reason I mean, you hear all this stuff. In the Soto tradition, we face the wall. In the Rinzai tradition, we face the room. And supposedly we face the room because it was a samurai lineage and you had to see if someone was coming through the door to kill you. So I don't know if that's true. Also, maybe we have to have a soft focus so you can see the room. But, I was at this guru once. I was at this yoga thing in Los Angeles, and there was this guru that came from India. And someone asked him a question. They said, when I sit and do my meditation, I hear all this noise in the street and it drives me crazy. What should I do? And the guru said, allow and include. That was all he said. I've never forgotten that. That's the spirit of the eyes sort of open with a soft gaze. I was taught. I was taught that when you close your eyes, it's easy to shut the world out and to get into to get stuck in a headspace and to dream, to get distracted by your thoughts. But also, it's a little bit easier to meditate with your eyes closed because there's not all these distractions. But I was taught that we're training to include and allow, basically. So we have our eyes open with a soft gaze, so we're not pushing the world out. We're not staying in our special place inside our heads with our eyes closed, but we're including the world in our sitting. We're including it. There's something about having your eyes open when you're meditating. It's like you're in the world still, and that's really important in the Zen lineage. Is to be in the world always, in the moment. Okay. Okay, Typhon, this will be the last one. You guys are very patient. Typhon asks, what does Shozan mean? I Googled it, but I couldn't find much. Is it your Dharma name? No, it's not my Dharma name. So my Dharma name is actually Gento. What happened was I was publishing these essays in Tricycle magazine, and then I became a monk and I got ordained. And you're not really supposed to be writing about your experiences when you're a monk, right? You're a chicken monk. You're supposed to learn and shut up. But I wanted to keep writing. So I was talking to my Zen mentor about it. He's like, just come up with a pseudonym. He's like, it's a gesture towards anonymity. So you're not just writing about your practice and writing about your peers when you're supposed to be shutting up. So I just came up with this name Shozan. I don't know really where it came from. It actually does have kanji characters, apparently, because it's a name within the Zen tradition, but nobody gave me that name. It's a pen name. And I came up with that name because I actually got a Dharma name, and that necessitated the need for a little cover for my writing. So that's why I had that. So thanks for your question. Oh, guys, I almost forgot. This is good. Don't leave. Okay, this is the practical thing. So listen, it's hard to sit. You're gonna leave like day after day after day after day. But Zen Buddhism is a consistent practice. It's a daily practice. It's an accumulative practice. You do it over and over, and you learn how to meditate. You learn how to sit. But I did this for 13 years full time, and it's still hard for me day after day after day to do my sitting. And I wanted to start doing sitting again. And my girlfriend wanted to start doing sitting again. I wanted to do it consistently. So suddenly one day I had this brainstorm. Okay, this is a cup. This is 7 coins. Okay, at the beginning of the week, my girlfriend and I, we sit in her bedroom. So at the beginning of the week, I empty this cup of these coins. I put the coin on her desk. I put the cup on the desk. I put the coins on the desk. Very simple. We sit every day. When we're done with the sit, we put a coin in the cup. I know it sounds crazy, but every day when I go in that room, I see the cup. I remember I have to sit. And I see the coins. And I remember I got to put a coin in the cup. and it's just enough to remind me to do it. If I've got no reminder, if I've got no little gimmick, sometimes I'll just be like, well, now, then, I don't need to sit today. So this reminds me to sit every day, a coin in the cup when we sit, right? And it doesn't have to, we do 25 minutes. Do 5 minutes. If you're really busy one day, do 30 seconds, whatever you can do for that day. Have your goal for whatever you want to do, 25 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 10 minutes, even 10 minutes is fine, right? But if you can't do your goal for that day, do a minute, do 30 seconds, just the intention. Just the 30 seconds means you can put the coin in the cup. Try it. It's been a bit of a not a life changer, but it's a nice little gimmick to remind you, to get you to do your sitting practice. All right. I hope that's helpful. Thank you so much. It was wonderful sitting with you. Happy Mother's Day. We'll see you next time. Okay, Vasily asked a question. It's actually a deep question that requires some thought. So I'm gonna contemplate it and maybe answer it on YouTube, or maybe I'll just send you a message on Patreon. Thank you, Vasily. Ciao, friends.